to the British government, during which time he visited Israel a number of times. Hello, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon. I think Israel has very little choice other than to carry on with its military operations until it reaches the conclusion that it needs, which is to stop Hamas from firing.
Does the impact on civilians, on people who have nothing to do with Hamas but live in a heavily populated area so can't escape, to what extent does their fate factor in considerations?
I think I would say, from my knowledge of the IDF and from the extent to which I've been following the current operation, I don't think that there has ever been a time in the history of warfare when any army has made more efforts to reduce civilian casualties and deaths of innocent people than the IDF is doing today in Gaza. When you look at the number of civilian casualties that have been caused, that perhaps doesn't sound too credible. I will accept that. However, Hamas, the enemy that they're fighting, has been trained extensively by Iran and by Hezbollah to fight among the people, to use the civilian population in Gaza as a human shield. And Hamas factor in the use of the civilian population as a major part of their defensive plan. So even though, as I say, Israel, the IDF, and I could tell you about some of those if you're interested, to reduce civilian casualties, it's impossible. It is impossible to stop that happening when the enemy is using them as a shield.
Indeed, and some of that is interesting.
It's just a matter of the IDF trying to prevent casualties in a situation where the enemy is using them as a shield, but it's also, war itself, the whole nature of war, any military commander will tell you this, war is chaos, war is full of mistakes, there's friction all over the place, and if you just take, for example, the way that we operate, our British forces operate in Afghanistan and in Iraq, there have been numerous mistakes there, not just by the British, by the Americans, by all of the forces. And these things do happen. It's a real tragedy. It's very unfortunate, but it's just what happens when you go to war.